My goodness, the minute I pack up all of my film gear, all of my editing gear, everything that I need to produce my videos, because I'm moving to Auckland soon, Joe Schmidt gets announced as the head coach of the Wallabies. Rugby Australia have signed the former All Blacks assistant, the former Ireland head coach, and the former Leinster head coach as their successor to Eddie Jones. Now look guys, Rugby Australia have got a lot of internal issues going on, and I've praised Joe Schmidt many times over here on this YouTube channel. While my video quality probably isn't very good right now, neither is the quality of talent that Joe Schmidt is going to have to work with. Joe Schmidt is a genius. He rescued the All Blacks by actually getting them to research their opposition, and he taught them a lot of very, very nice attacking strategies that really worked so well, and wowzers, he's a genius. Ireland, of course. Look at all the records they broke with Joe Schmidt as the head coach. 3 Six Nations championship, like incredible. But the problem is, you are only as good as your head coach, or a head coach that is actually backed by the system. Because the thing is, a head coach who is not given a good opportunity to develop systems, a head coach who does not get the opportunity to develop depth isn't a good head coach. Joe Schmidt, he has been a phenomenal head coach with Ireland in the past. He led them to defeat the All Blacks for the first time in history, then he returned home to New Zealand and was pretty much the tactical leader for Ian Foster's All Blacks in their last 2 years with Fozzie as the head coach. But the thing is with Australia is Joe Schmidt has a far different scenario that's being presented to him. The thing is, while Joe Schmidt can teach the Wallabies to actually research their opposition, he can teach them to actually follow through with some set moves. Rugby Australia, is that necessarily a system that is going to give him the right support? Probably not. Because the thing is with Rugby Australia is, well, they need to get rid of the rebels, they need to get rugby back into public schools, and the fact that they have borrowed a massive loan that will need to get paid back by at some point, you know, that's going to be dragging them into debt. And is a company in debt going to have the ability to put their attention into helping a new head coach implement his systems? Are they going to pull together the funds to stop players who are 25 years old leaving to go play in the English Premiership or play in the French top 14? I don't know. Because when a business is in debt, a business isn't exactly in the best place to give their full attention to other things happening in their company. Joe Schmidt has succeeded under very strong systems. David Nucifora, who helped him with Ireland, is here in Australia as well. But with Rugby Australia's history, can we expect Joe Schmidt to bring out a revolution? No. We all knew that Eddie Jones is a great coach. We all knew that Eddie Jones was a guy with potential to do a lot of good for Rugby Australia, but he couldn't. Eddie Jones, after 2 decades of Rugby Australia just having the same old problems, was like, right, okay, I've been sacked for England, I'm going to give this a go and I'm going to see what I can do in an attempt to reset the Wallabies. And he couldn't, because even though he did the right thing, turned to the next generation, well, they were leaderless as soon as James Slipper would come off the pitch, and they would lose because James Slipper is a prop who cannot play the full 80. And is Joe Schmidt going to be able to have, you know, the same access to a decent talent pool? Of course not, because Mark Nwangani-Tawasi is off to league. There are several players who are chopping and changing their clubs a fair bit. Taniela Tupou off to the Melbourne Rebels, Nick White and Ben Donaldson over to the Western Force. The fact that they're always chopping and changing what clubs they're representing, Aussie cannot genuinely build proper TWI. There's also Reece John Pasitoa of the Western Force. He used to play for the Brumbies, now look where he's at. Noah Lolesio, his confidence got absolutely wrecked by Dave Rennie, and he's past the point of no return, because when a coach constantly shifts you out of 10, then starts you the next game, then drops you the next game, how on earth are you supposed to get confidence in your continuity? Joe Schmidt is not being given a lot to work with. Yes, he's a smart cookie. Yes, he's a great character in the game of rugby, but there's also the factor of the fact that he's from New Zealand. When you weren't born in the same country, when you didn't have the same background as the players you were coaching, it's much harder to connect with them. While Joe Schmidt was able to get the Irish to have a lot of success, he wasn't ultimately able to break them out of that mental passion of going out in the quarterfinals of a World Cup, because the fact that although Schmidt was an Irish citizen, he grew up in New Zealand, grew up in Dannevirke, he grew up in a small town. He grew up in a place that doesn't really give you a lot of access to see the rest of the world. Whereas, the Irish, being so far north, being part of the EU, access to see so many countries, they just have a completely different perspective on life. Robbie Deans failed with the Wallabies because he didn't understand their background either. Dave Rennie is the worst Wallabies coach of all time based on win percentages for the same factor. He just could not relate to the players and get to the root cause of their background and get himself to understand why their culture is the way it is. Head coaches just have so much pressure on their shoulders, and the fact that Joe Schmidt also doesn't like the media, that's going to be another distraction for him as well. When he was the Blues attack coach, they were absolutely elite because he could just ignore the media and just concentrate on coaching that team. It was the same with the All Blacks. He did not do one interview when he was back in New Zealand as the All Blacks assistant coach and selector. But the positive thing is, although Australia will not be able to win a World Cup, will not be able to win a Lions Tour under Joe Schmidt, potentially the Bledisloe Cup could get a bit more competitive again. Joe Schmidt, having been with the All Blacks, will know a lot of the traits and the habits that some of the players will naturally do in certain situations, so he could provide the Wallabies with a few keys to dismantling the likes of Geordie Barrett on defence. But ultimately, is this the right move? No, I don't think so, because while Joe Schmidt is a great coach, Australia aren't a great rugby nation. They have a board that is very, very dysfunctional. They have a very hard time getting the sponsors they want right now after what happened in 2023, and they are in just a real state of decline, and I don't think they're able to return. I think they've gone past the point of no return, Rugby Australia. So while Joe Schmidt is a great coach, I do fear genuinely that this could end up ruining his reputation. Because I've had such a frustrating time watching Australian rugby in the last few years, I have no plans to watch any of the Aussie Super Rugby teams in 2024. I don't have any plans to watch the Bledisloe Cup in 2024. I don't have any plans on watching Aussie rugby up until the 2025 Lions Tour when I go over there to support the British and Irish Lions. Look, you guys can call me a biased Kiwi, you can call me out for just being a guy who's doing what he was brought up to do, and that's, of course, have the sibling rivalry with the Aussies, but I just genuinely don't believe there is a way back for Rugby Australia to get themselves out of the hole they're in. While there is the factor of, me getting it wrong with them coming fourth, when I said they were going to come fourth in their pool back in 2022, I obviously had to change my mind and say they're going to come third. I am a person who has been predicting the downfall of Australia for a long time. I mean, friends of mine who watch this video, if you guys are watching, you can remember back in 2019 where I said that Fiji were going to beat them at the 2019 World Cup. I mean, the 2023 World Cup loss to Fiji, that probably came a lot later than it should have. Joe Schmidt, I'm going to say this one more time, he is a world-class coach, he is great. But Australia, can they be fixed? I don't think so. This is going to be a bit of a tough period, so I do wish Joe Schmidt well because it's not going to be easy. Thanks for watching the video, guys. This is going to be my last ever video with this wee artistic background. I'm not going to be able to upload on Sunday, so yes, I just hope you've enjoyed the last wee selection reactions and coach discussions. Good luck to Joe Schmidt, and I'll see you next time, guys.